Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Link&Learn series here at the Greater Northampton Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank Florence Bank, who is our sponsor of this series. Um, and they believe that a educated community is well informed, and that's why we are here. And I'd like to welcome Joanna and her um, wonderful topic on public speaking today. So I'm going to say, take it away.
Hi. Glad that you all are here. I am so excited to be here today, and I'm going to start by telling a story. Just right out of the gate, I'm going to tell you a story. And this story has nothing to do with public speaking, but stick with me. I'll connect the dots. So, what I want to ask you to consider is think about a time when things went awry, when you had a plan and things didn't go as planned. And how'd you meet that? What'd you do? How'd you meet that moment? So I moved recently to Western Mass from Colorado. I lived in Boulder, Colorado for 20 years. And anytime I flew out of the Denver airport, I would go early enough to get breakfast at my favorite restaurant in Terminal C, route down. And on this particular day, I was there in plenty of time to have breakfast, but I went through security and the screen on my phone was cracked, so it wouldn't read my mobile boarding pass, so which meant I had to go back to ticketing and get a paper pass, and this was annoying because it was cutting into my breakfast time. So I went and got my paper pass, went through security, took off my coat, my bag, my shoes, pulled my laptop out of the bag, went through and made my way to Terminal C. I got to route down, I ordered my breakfast, I'm sitting, I have plenty of time still to get some work done before I fly. So I turn to my bag to pull my laptop out, and it's gone. I realize that I have left my laptop at security. So my heart drops to the floor. I panic. In that moment, my breakfast comes. I wolf down my breakfast super quickly, gather my things, race back to security, thinking I can just like scoot up through the back stairs, grab my laptop, and get back to route down for another cup of coffee. But now I have to go out into the terminal to go through security now for a third time. So I go through, take off my coat, my belt, my shoes, and I say, I was just here 20, 30 minutes ago. I left my laptop. Please tell me you have it. And they say, oh, we just took it to Lost and Found. And I say, where's Lost and Found? And he says, see that restroom sign? Go left at the restroom sign, left at baggage claim, down the escalator, down a hallway, down that hallway, through a set of double doors, up a little flight of stairs, down another hallway, around a corner. There's a window. That's Lost and Found. And I say, I do not have time to follow that maze to Lost and Found. You've got to do something. And he says, well, that's where your laptop is. So then I turn it on myself and I say, Johanna, seriously? Your keys, your wallet, your glasses, now your laptop? How dare you even call yourself a grown-up? Who lets you go out? This is ridiculous. And I have a moment of self-attack. And things do not look so good. So that's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause in this moment. I'll get back to the end of the story. I'm going to leave you in this moment of suspense. So you wonder, did she make the flight? Did she recover her computer? Did she get swallowed by this dragon of self-attack? Did she survive? I promise I'll tell you. But I want to pause right here and get back to our topic at hand and say, one, I'm a storyteller. And I say often the most powerful story you can tell is the story you tell yourself about who you are and who you get to be in the world. And I work with coaches and consultants and organizational leaders who struggle to communicate their ideas effectively. I help them transform those ideas into actions that inspire clients, prospects, team members, and decision makers to say yes more often to new opportunities. I help people get on stage. I help people communicate from any stage with more confidence. And the biggest thing that gets in the way for most people is the story they tell themselves, the story they're telling themselves. So we're here to talk about nerves, how to turn nerves into power and presence. And nerves, I'm going to kind of use as shorthand to talk about shorthand for the thing that gets in the way, whatever gets in the way of you being your brightest, most brilliant self as a presenter, as a speaker, as a leader, as a communicator. So that's what we're here to do. I'm gonna do some talking just to share my perspective on how to do this, how I approach this work, and then I'm going to give you some tools that hopefully you can take and apply. At the end of the hour, I'm going to have some time for questions, and I'll give you some an opportunity. If you decide you want to do more of this work and get more support, I'll tell you how to do that. So feel free to, I'm going to ask you some questions along the way. Sometimes I'll ask you to unmute. Sometimes I'll ask you to drop in the chat. I always say, play at 100%. So lean in, whatever you're doing. If you can close tabs, uh, I know we're such expert multitaskers. So, but I really encourage you to show up at 100%. It's one of the, when you give 100%, you'll get 100% back. So lean in, and I'm delighted to be here with you, however you can show up here. So I'm going to share my screen and share some slides. Here we go. This is my fear lady. So we're going to talk about nerves, and it shows up a lot of different ways for different people. As I said, it can, some people don't identify as fearful, but something gets in the way. So each one of you is in the perfect place on your path, and I invite you to consider where your edge is. Where's the edge for you that keeps you from taking the next big leap, or that feels like I'm not sure exactly, this is the place where you get a little wobbly, because you probably have a comfort zone, a place where you feel really strong and confident, and maybe a place where you don't. So one of the places I call the body hijack. This is the very physical sensation. Your mouth gets dry, your heart beats fast, you get a little nauseous, you want to hang your head over the toilet, your knees get wobbly, or maybe it's just like subtle nerves, but it's distracting. It makes it hard to be present when you're doing what you're doing. That's the body hijack. The second one I call the mental maze. This is, you're really good at what you do, but when you try to talk about it, you get overwhelmed and disorganized, and it's hard to make sense of what you have to say and what you know. And you either freeze or you ramble or you bumble your words because you can't figure out how to clearly communicate your expertise. Another is the hideout, which can show up as procrastination. You just kind of like put it off till tomorrow or next year or next month, whatever it is. You don't raise your hand, you hang out, you let somebody else do the talking. Maybe you're okay with it, but it's like, yeah, you're not putting it front and center. You know that speaking, that raising your hand, taking the lead is going to move your career forward, and you just don't do it. You kind of put it off. That's the hideout. For whatever reason, that could be the physical stuff, the mental stuff, or just like, the thing you can't quite name. Another one I call the expert trap, which is the person who's like, yeah, I got this. I'm cool. I'm good. I'm not scared of public speaking, where you think of it as kind of black or white. I'm either scared of public speaking or you don't, because you hear so much, you know, um, public speaking fear is more, people fear public speaking more than death, right? They'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. And so if you're not if you're not afraid of public speaking, then you're cool. But then you're shortchanging yourself on growing and discovering the unconscious habits that you're not aware of. And so you don't take on learning and practicing and working to create new pathways and new ways to access your skill and your as a speaker. So I'd love to hear if you're willing to drop in the chat any one of those or all of or combination of those. Like, where do you get hung up? Where do you get stuck? If there's another category that I missed, feel free to drop that in the chat. I think it's useful to name one because you'll find out you're not alone. And and that can be helpful to see like, oh, you're not alone, that we all share some of the same habits. And when you name it, it takes away some of the power. A little bit of all. That's good. That's all four, one and two the most, one and two strong, one and then two. Okay, cool. This is great. This is great because I'm gonna give you some tools for each one of those. Um, Slides. Hello. There we go. Because what happens is all of these, however it shows up for you, if it's the physical, the mental, the procrastination, most of those things collect on this train that ends up at I suck. That the story you tell yourself is I suck. Maybe it's not that, or I'm just not that good at this, or I'm never going to be able to do the thing I want because XYZ. And that story, remember I said the most powerful story you can tell is the one you tell yourself about who you are and who you get to be. And when that story is I'm not good at public speaking, when that story is I suck, when that story is I'm a loser, it's going to get in the way. That story is going to get in the way. So I want to show you how to, or give you some tools to rewrite that story so that you can stand in your most powerful superhero self, because that one is in you. And we need to just clear out some of the noise, create some new pathways for new habits, and get you standing in your power. So now I want you to think about why that matters for you, like what got you here today. When you meet and transform whatever it is that's in the way for you, what will be possible? So I'd love you to drop that in the chat. Why does it matter? What will you be able to do more effectively when you nail this? When you can stand in your full power as a speaker, as a communicator, as a presenter, what will be possible? And see if you can be specific about that in your work, in your business, in your life. What will be possible when you can take that stand for yourself? Anybody willing to drop that in the chat? Inspire more people, feel more confident. Cool. And when you can inspire more people and when you feel more confident, what becomes possible? I should be able to feel more comfortable. Um, Lead more intentionally. Great, great. From hideout posture, position myself as an expert. Great. Present to a group of adults on a familiar topic without feeling so sick to my stomach. Yeah, and when you do that, that group of adults is going to be impacted. They're going to be changed. They're going to be touched by your wisdom. Be able to speak in the moment with more confidence. Yeah, and every single one of these inspire teamwork instead of competition. My audience will remember me and my message. Every single one of these is about the impact you can have. The people, we get so hung up in our own noise and our own stuff. But when you take that stand, there are people who are going to be impacted by the work you do, by the things that you say, by your expertise, your brilliance, your genius. That's how we change the world. JFK said the only reason to give a speech is to change the world. And we change the world by connecting to one another, by sharing what we know, and by moving our audiences to action, whether your audience is one person or three people or 10 people or 100 or 1,000. There are people whose lives are going to be changed when you step into your confidence and share what you know. So I know that you are here because you're good at what you do and you know the power of speaking. You value it already. And you know that speaking is a way to get the word out if you're a business owner inside an organization. It's a way to step into leadership. How you show up in meetings will have a huge impact on the future of your success, your company's success, your business's success. When you're more visible, you get the promotion, you get invited to give the talk, you have more influence. And when you take a stand for your power as a speaker, that ripples out. So I know that the effectiveness of your leadership and the growth of your business is directly tied to your skills as a communicator. It's directly tied to how you communicate your ideas and your expertise. And no matter how good you are at what you do, if you can't speak about it with confidence and clarity, your people are going to follow the person who can. That much is at stake. It's easier said than done, but that much is at stake. So let's so whatever these are in the way, it's costing you, right? There's a financial cost, there's a professional cost, there's a very personal cost because it means a smaller version of you is going out into the world. Parts of yourself get put on the back burner and don't get to be expressed. So there's that personal cost. There's a cost to the world because we don't get your brilliance. And there's a very, as I said, a very financial cost, a professional cost because you're not taking the steps you need to take to step into leadership. So, and especially now with AI getting faster and smarter, your ability to communicate like a real human with presence and clarity and aliveness is not optional. It is truly the competitive advantage. So, whatever fear is there, it's there for a reason. At some point, it was protecting something precious in you. It's done a really good job, and now we don't need it anymore. It's not serving you anymore. So I want to talk to you about how to turn that fear. We don't actually eliminate it, but we learn to work with it. It becomes information and eventually fuel. It's a good thing. It means that what you have to say matters. So I want to show you how to turn that fear into fuel. This is Emily. I love this quote that I love to share. She was in my program Speakers Playground, which I'll share a little bit with you about. She said, I joined because I wanted to become a better speaker at work, which I did, but the best part was because of Speakers Playground, I got better at life. So taking that stand for yourself and your voice will ripple out. It will ripple out. And Matt is another. I worked with his team at a company in Boston, and his team learned the skills to become better presenters. But in doing that work, they became a stronger team. It was the team building by showing up with and for one another to do that work. The team got stronger. So now I'm going to come back to the story. Remember the story. I'm standing there in the airport and I have lost my laptop and I have to go left at the bathroom sign, left at baggage claim, down the escalator, down the hallway, through a set of double doors to retrieve it. And I've got a flight to catch. So I'm standing there attacking myself for leaving my laptop behind. And then an alarm goes off on my phone because every morning at 10 a.m., an alarm goes off on my phone and it says, my slides are slow. It's fun to be me. It's fun to be me. So even now, this moment, everything's falling apart. I'm about to miss my plane, and I say, okay, even now, it's fun to be me. So I go left at the bathroom sign, left at baggage claim, down the escalator, down a hallway, through a set of double doors, up a little flight of stairs, down another hallway, around a corner where I'm reunited with my laptop. And now I've got a flight to catch. So I go through security for the fourth time. I get to Terminal C. Of course, my gate is at the very end of the terminal. Of course, the moving walkway is broken. I run as I approach the gate. There's nobody there. And I think, oh my God, I've missed my flight after all that. And then an agent comes out of the jetway. He sees me running and calls out, Boston. And I say, Boston. He says, one more. So I run down the jetway with mission impossible precision. I slide through that door. I take my seat in 24A and I say, it is fun to be me. So the reason I tell this story is because it's fun to be me. And it's not fun to be me because I have a particularly fun life. But when I show up for my life, having fun being me in all my quirky, imperfect glory, everything goes better. And when you show up as a speaker, as a leader, having fun being you, that means bringing your full humanity into the room without apology. That's when your people want to follow you. That's when they want to connect with you and hear what you have to say. There's a lot of pressure out there to change and to fix what's broken and to tuck ourselves in. And when you can truly bring your full humanity into the room, that's when things move forward. The second reason I tell this story is because you get good at what you practice. What you practice, you get good at. Now, I was practicing the story of, seriously, Johanna, your keys, your wallet, when are you going to get it together? How dare you even call yourself a grown-up? We all have those kinds of stories that we practice again and again. We become really good at those stories. But I changed my story on a dime. I changed it to it's fun to be me, and then it turned into a fun adventure. And so whatever's hard about speaking for you, when you feel your nerves, when you want to hang your head over the toilet, when you feel unprepared and you didn't prepare as you wish you had, or you feel intimidated by the people in the room, whatever story you're telling yourself, when you can say, even now, it's fun to be me, let's do this, it brings more of you into the room. So, a big part of the work that I do with people is getting really clear about what do you want to practice? Which thing are you practicing? Are you practicing your fear or are you practicing your confidence? You have to be very intentional about what you practice. Most of us have also unconscious habits, filler words we don't even realize we're using, flailing arms, body language that we practice that communicates a lack of confidence. When we practice those behaviors that communicate a lack of confidence, we lose confidence. But when we practice confident behavior, that actually translates to confidence. The last one is when you have a flight to catch, you're unstoppable. You know that feeling when you have to catch a flight in 5 minutes, but you've only got three? Every cell in your body is focused on getting you to that gate. You will knock over small children in your path to get there. Everything is clear. The goal is clear. So when you have that crystal clarity about what you want to say, why you want to say it, who you want to say it to, and what you want them to do as a result, when you have that level of clarity, you become unstoppable. We get so caught in our own confusion and overwhelm and lack of clarity, and it's hard to communicate clearly when you don't know what you're saying or why you're saying it or who you're saying it to. So I want to give you some frameworks to help with that level of clarity so that anytime you're communicating, you get to bring this one into the room, this superhero that is you. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me and how I got here. I think we can learn from one another's stories. So this is me. This is me as a second grader. I was a really good kid, a really quiet kid. I would go for days without speaking. I had a second grade teacher. I had an undiagnosed learning disability. So reading was hard for me. School was really hard for me. And I told my parents I was bored in school. So my dad went down to talk to the teacher. He said, Johanna's an artist. She loves to draw and paint and dance. Just the other day, she said, if I was the teacher, we'd make more art. So the next day, Mrs. Noble came into the classroom and she marched up and down the aisles. This was in the 70s. She was wearing a mini skirt and high heels. And she said, there's someone in this classroom who believes she knows more about educating second graders than I do. Then she stood in front of my desk. She glared down at me and she said, Johanna, how about you teach the class today? This was not a call to leadership. This was a threat. And because I was a good girl, I did what I was told. I made my way to the front of the room and I stood there in utter terror and silence. I didn't say a word. The kids started to snicker because it was awkward. I wanted nothing more than to disappear and never be seen again. Finally, she released me. She said, "Is it okay if I teach the class today?" I nodded my head. I couldn't even speak. I nodded my head and took my seat. And that was the day I decided it wasn't a good idea to speak up, wasn't a good idea to ask for help, wasn't a good idea to share my thinking. And I stayed good and quiet and well behaved for many, many, many more years. This is a self portrait I made in college. I found this in my mother's basement not too long ago. This was the story I told myself, a story I carried like a torch. I have nothing to say. I'm willing to bet like this little girl, maybe you resonate with that story. Maybe you were one of the quiet ones. If you weren't one of the quiet ones, I'm willing to bet you got in trouble for talking too much. That most of us got hammered about our voice around our voices in some way. We didn't get the support we needed. We were too big or too quiet or too loud or too messy. Some way we got hammered around our voices. So, and it impacts us today still. So I want you to just, whoever the place where you got kind of like cut short, scoop that one in with you and bring them along because they also carry the vitality and the humanity that is you. So, so this is me now. I speak on conference stages and I've given a TEDx talk. I speak at events like this. I've hosted a story slam in Colorado for 10 years. I've won the story slam competition. And each new stage I get on face plants me into the old story. I have nothing to say. I continue to meet that story, but every time I get on stage anyway, the story gets rewritten. And I know we all have stories like that that we believe and that we carry like a torch. And every time you step forward anyway, you get to rewrite that story. If you had told this girl that she was going to be giving a TEDx talk, she would have run the other way fast. There's no way she would have believed me. There's no way she would have believed me. So, what is that story that you get stuck in? What is the story you tell yourself that you continue to meet? Sometimes I think we're all rewriting the same story over and over again. Like this story, I have nothing to say. I still meet today, you know? And then I learned that I do. Oh, I actually do have some things to say that are valuable. So if you're willing to share in the chat, what is it for you? I'm not funny. I'm not smart. I'm not as smart as she is. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Or I'm too X, I'm too Y. Anybody willing to share what that story is for you? Um, just read an article about adults who felt shame in elementary school gym class. Oh, yes. So true. I'll give you some time if you want to drop a story in the chat. That's great. I'm gonna I'm gonna keep rolling. So we're gonna we're gonna dig into some specifics, some tools. It's fun to be me. I offer that to you. I recently spoke at a luncheon, the Power of Women luncheon in Worcester a couple of months ago, and just last week was at a women's leadership conference, and three people came up to me and said, "Oh, I saw you speak. I put 'It's fun to be me' as an alarm on my phone, and it's changing everything." So I offer that to you. Use it however it serves you. But we're going to dig in a little bit till you get good at what you practice, to two and three, to what and how to practice, and how a few of you mentioned just rambling and having to speak off the cuff. I'm going to give you a couple of frameworks so that you can have that clarity at your fingertips when you need it, so that you can be unstoppable. Um, I want to ask you the difference between a good speaker and a great speaker. How would you answer this question? How do you know a great speaker when you see one? Oh, we're back to the story. Thank you, Robin. Imposter syndrome. I should know more about XYZ. Do I know what I'm talking about? Feeling judged during meetings. Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody want to drop into the chat? What makes a great speaker? How do you know a great speaker? If the person listening understands the message, so if you're the person listening and you understand the message, you know it's a great speaker. Great. As audience members, when you've heard people speaking, how do you know when you say, "Whoa, that was a great speaker"? What makes them great? What do you see? I think one of the most powerful ways to learn about speaking, about storytelling, is to listen to a lot of stories, listen to speakers, and pay attention. Put your own coaching hat on and notice what moves you. Notice where you lose track. Notice where you fall off. Notice where you lean in. You can learn so much from listening to other speakers. Great speakers connect with their audiences in a way that the words resonate with them. Engaging, resonating. Nice. A great speaker has the ability to know the material and can read the room in real time. Great. Awesome. So, one of the ways I like to answer that question is the difference between a good speaker and a great speaker is 1,000 speeches, that we get good at what we practice. And you got to get, and every time you have the opportunity, even to introduce yourself, that's one of your speeches. And if you're out there speaking a lot and practicing, that's great. There's a good chance that you're practicing the way you've always done it, which includes some unconscious habits that you might not even be aware of. So we have to be very intentional about what we practice. I want to read these more in the comment. Engaging keeps me thinking about the topic afterwards. Great. Great speakers make me want to continue talking when their speech is done. Awesome. Awesome. So practice makes better. We're not going for perfect. Better practice makes change. So I'm going to show you some specific a couple of tools to practice. Here's John. He was somebody who went into brutal self-attack anytime he spoke up at work. And he said, now I know what and how to practice. I'm having so much more fun and so much more success. I still get energy every time I have to present. He calls it energy now, not fear. But I use that energy to bring my full authentic self to the audience. So, um, when I'm working with clients, I'm leading my program, Speakers Playground, for instance, we work from the outside, which is probably what you think about when you think about public speaking 101. What do you do with your hands, your face, your voice, your body? That's from the outside. The inner work is believing in your bones that what you say matters. Having the resilience to receive negative feedback because you will. Letting it roll right off you and standing in what you know is true. Also, breath, I consider some of the inner work that when you breathe, it brings you more fully into the room. It supports you in slowing down and actually feeling the nerves, feeling the fear, being present with what's happening, which might be discomfort. The goal is not to make that go away, but to feel it as sensation, not as story. And that becomes your battery pack. So then you use your breath and you use the energy that is nerves to effectively share your message. So I won't take the time right now, but doing the practice to notice, well, you could do it right now, is just notice any sensation in your body, any sensation, tension in your shoulders, tension in your neck, breath in your belly, whatever you're noticing, notice it as sensation. And we do this as practice in low stakes situations so that when you get to a higher stakes moment, you can say, oh, my belly is slightly nauseous. I feel my heart beating really fast. How interesting. I feel some tension in my jaw. What a curious sensation. I feel my knees wobbling a little. Wow, I feel my life force. So when you can really let the sensation be sensation, not story, that's all that it is. It's sensation. When you can keep it in your body and out of your head, all that it is sensation. That's going to change the way that you meet your nerves. So when you look good, you feel good. We work on the outside, how you look on the outside impacts how you feel on the inside. Um, this comfort zone, right? Most of us hang out in our comfort zone. When you're willing to step out into your risk zone or your danger zone, it makes your comfort zone bigger. That's how we expand it by getting out of our comfort zone, by stepping out of what we already know, allows that comfort zone to actually get bigger. I'm going to jump to this is one tool that I want to give you. Okay, we bow to punctuation. We bow to punctuation, and this helps so much in terms of slowing down and catching your breath. I mean, catching the moments of unconscious filling with filler words and getting you more present with what you're saying. So I'm slowing down a little. This is what I call scales. If you play an instrument, you practice scales. But when you get to the stage, you play the music. So when we're practicing, we practice scales. Sometimes we'll work very rigorously on a specific skill, and it feels unnatural. It feels sticky. It feels like that doesn't feel like me. But what you're doing is you're creating a new pathway in your brain to know that that's possible. So this is a practice tool to bow to the punctuation, which means you pause at a comma, you pause even longer at a period. You begin the new sentence with a capital letter. At the end of an idea, you might take an even longer pause. When you've shared, if you're speaking on stage, you're on your feet, and you get to the end of a chapter, you might change places on the stage. So we bow to the punctuation. I want to invite you to say, I'm going to let you do it. Just stay off of mute and try this on your own, on mute. Nobody will hear you. And I just want you to feel it. I want you to say, my name is Johanna. Of course, you will say your own name. My name is Johanna. Period. Don't say the period. My name is Johanna. I have something to say that I want you to hear. Period. And then tell me something, say, and then I believe that if we all danced more, we would be more connected to our communities and we would have more joy. So just say those 3 lines. My name is Johanna. I have something to say that I want you to hear. I believe, fill in the blank. And just feel the end of each of those sentences. Let yourself land at the end of each of those sentences. Would you try that? Try that on mute. And then I'm going to ask one of you to unmute and do it out loud. So give that a go right now on your own. I'll put it in the chat. And I'm going to stop my share just for a minute and see if somebody wants to unmute and do that. And this is a place where one of the rules in all of my programs is go before you're ready. So even if your first thought was, no way am I going to unmute, this is a great opportunity to do it anyway. And notice whatever sensation might be there. And without making a story about it, right? Because often we feel the sensations like, oh, I'm too nervous, I'm too moved, my voice will shake. No way, I would completely humiliate myself, right? That's the story. But when you say, oh, my heart is beating, I feel some tension in my throat, interesting sensation, I'm going to raise my hand and do it. Anybody willing to do that? If it feels really easy for you, then hang back so that somebody that it feels a little bit edgy for has the opportunity to raise their hand. I'm gonna, no rush, hang out for a minute and see. Do you remember, can you imagine a group of first graders, a first grade class, and they've just been given the invitation to wash the board? Like one person gets to wash the board, or maybe it's third grade. What is every child in that room doing? Can you imagine walking past that room? Like they're like me, oh me, pick me. Would you just do that right now? I'm not going to pick anybody who doesn't want to go, but I want you to feel that in your body. Like raise your hand and go me. I'm not seeing hands up. I promise I'm not going to pick you, but I want you to feel what it feels like to go, oh, pick me. Great. So this you're here because you know how important it is to be able to speak with confidence. You're here because you value this. So this is a great place to check it out and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to shut up now and ask anybody want to try that? Dan, thank you. Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Dan, and I have something that I want you to hear. I believe that Drake May is the second coming of Tom Brady, and he will lead us to five more Super Bowls.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Dan, just because thank you so much, would you be willing to do it one more time?
Sure.
I'm going to just catch one thing. And this is, you said you began the second line with and. And sometimes and creeps in there as a little filler word. I want you to really punch that line with, I have something to say that I want you to hear. So my name is Dan. I have something to say without that and, just so you can really feel the beginning of that. Try that.
My name is Dan. I have something to say that I want you to hear. I have something to say that I want you to hear. I believe that Drake May is the second coming of Tom Brady, and he will lead us to five more Super Bowls.
Awesome. Thank you. Shauna, are you volunteering? Great. Let's hear it.
My name is Shauna. I have something to say that I want you to hear. I think listening to music in other languages is great for widening my perceptions.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So that's just a little tool to practice. Find the periods. I promise that if you practice that like scales, when you get out there and speak, I want you speaking with all energy and life force and enthusiasm and however you speak. But when you practice, give yourself a chance to land at the periods, land at the end of the sentence. Let your ideas land. It's going to support your clarity. It's going to give your audience a room to integrate what you have to say. It's going to interrupt the place that wants to fill that up with an or an or an and or a so. I want to give you one more thing. I want to give you one more thing before we wrap, which is some frameworks for when you have to speak. Are you guys seeing that screen? Oh, I didn't share yet. No, there we go. Share. I'm really good at tech, I promise. Okay, there's the bow to the punctuation. We bow to the punctuation mark. And the less you say, the more they'll hear. The less you say, the more they'll hear. Mark Twain said, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long letter. It's harder to be concise, and it's so valuable. So I give you this 3-2-1 framework. It can help you, it can help you just organize your thinking on the spot. I'll show you a couple of different ways. 3 reasons, 2 examples, 1 big idea. 3 reasons storytelling matters. Stories make information memorable. Stories help people emotionally connect. Stories create trust faster than data alone. 2 examples. An engineer explained road construction by connecting it to safer, quieter neighborhoods, a story of a safe, quieter neighborhood. A leader used a personal story to unite a stressed team during change. 1 big idea, people rarely remember more information. They remember how you made them feel. So 3 reasons, 2 examples, 1 big idea. A framework that you can do to get all this noise into a very simple form. 3 steps, 2 challenges, 1 takeaway. 3 priorities, 2 options, 1 recommendation. These are all as I said, ways to organize this mess into something clear and concise. Another one is a story, tell a story. So what? Like, why does it matter? And now what? What's the action you want people to take? I'm happy to share these frameworks with you. I have a bunch of them to just help you very quickly organize what it is you want to say so that you can step into have fun being the most powerful superhero that is you. I'd love to hear if there's 1 or 2 questions. I want to wrap up by just like telling you a little bit more about how I can support you moving forward. I'd love to hear if there are any questions or anything on your mind that that you want to ask in this moment. I'm happy to speak to anything that you have before we wrap up. Great. Yeah. I love those frameworks. Dan?
Hey, Johanna. Thank you very much. This is an exceptional presentation. I'm stuck on your slide with the 2 arrows for inner outer, and I feel like when I am speaking, there's, the energy that's inside relays to outside, voice starts to quiver. There's, stuttering in conversation. And then that leads to kind of like internal thoughts of like, I just bungled that. And then I start reading the room and it's like, oh, they're not taking that seriously. And I think somebody in the comments mentioned direct meetings and having impact. So I feel like it's all very like that slide was very simple. And to me, it seems so complex in how compounding it is and
Yeah.
the impact
Yeah.
that it can have. So like, where do you where do you start? Where do you prioritize to?
Yeah, I would say in that situation, like the inner there is those sensations where you get caught is when those sensations turn to story. That's when they end up on the train to Isaac, right? But when those sensations are just sensations, they're just sensations. And that's a practice. We practice, oh, my heart's beating really fast. It's not a problem. We just notice it. I feel my voice shaking. It's not a problem. There is nothing bad happening. There is nothing wrong. My voice is shaking. I'm okay. And we practice letting sensations be sensations. They don't translate to story. That's the work we do on the inside. We let sensations be sensations. From the outside, we practice confident behavior. The fundamentals of body language, the fundamentals of vocal dynamics. That way, when you practice, your body is communicating confidence. That translates to actual confidence. So we work from both sides. And it's practice. If you're practicing that nervous energy turning into now I'm reading the room and everybody's falling asleep and oh no, what am I going to do? If you're practicing that how all those things are connected, that's going to continue to connect. So we have to take little pieces of that and practice something different. Thanks. That's a great question that I could spend hours talking about. Um, I want to tell you, I want to tell you about Speakers Playground. Speakers Playground is an online practice group that I lead where we practice. We play and we practice. Sometimes the way to change patterns get really stubborn when they get wind of you stepping into your power, so they grip tighter. Sometimes when we do the front door work of developing those confident behaviors, the patterns grip tighter. So we do improvisation, we do play. We have a whole bunch of ways to have fun being you. And what it does is it shakes loose some of those patterns. So in Speakers Playground, we practice the inner work, the outer work. We go through the front door, we go through the back door. We shake loose some of those patterns that have had such a grip and create space for the new patterns to become habits. Sometimes it's uncomfortable because habits feel natural because they're comfortable. So when we're trying new habits, new pathways, they feel uncomfortable, they feel unnatural. This doesn't feel like me. But the more you practice them, the more they become yours. The more those confident behaviors become yours. The more those old patterns don't have as strong of a grip. So Speakers Playground happens online currently. In Colorado, I taught it in person for many years. I'd love to get it off the ground in person here. Currently, I'm just doing it online. If you have ideas of, if you're interested in person, let me know. If you have ideas of spaces, organizations to partner with, let me know. I'd love to do an in person. Right now, it happens online. I also am available to do, if you want to do deep work, if you have a presentation to give, or you want personal one-on-one work, Speakers Playground and one-on-one work is a great combination. I also can work with your team. And I'd love to have those conversations. I'm going to put in the chat a couple of links if you want to hear more, if you want to check out Speakers Playground. And I'd love to get on a call and chat more with whatever's up for you and how we might how I might support you. So there's a link to more about Speakers Playground. And if you want to schedule a call with me, I'm here for that also. I'd love to hear if any of you are willing to share a takeaway, an aha, a discovery, something you're taking with you, either a mindset shift or a tool. When you say it out loud, I think it sticks. So I'd love to have if a couple of you would unmute and just share. Oh, the bow to punctuation. Thanks. Yeah, that's great. Anything that you're going to practice, you're going to chew on, you're going to think about.
That a sensation is just a sensation. I think somebody who is fair-skinned like me, I feel it in my cheeks. I feel like, oh my gosh, people must know that I'm getting warm, and like I feel like that, sensation becomes a visual as well.
Mhm.
And that can be really difficult.
Yes, that's a great one because those sensations are so powerful, but really those sensations are the doorway to your power. So I think when we make those not a problem, I always say that's not a problem. There is no problem. That is your life force. Anybody else willing to share a takeaway or an aha, something you're going to chew on?
The less you say, the more they'll hear.
Mm, Good one. Okay. Well, oh, we still have 1 more minute. One more takeaway. There must be one more thing. One more thing you're going to chew on. Go before you're ready. Yes. Go before you're ready. You take the leap and you're there's a way in which when you step into something uncomfortable, you have to like dig down deep to get access to more of your power, and then that's yours. That's yours to keep. So that's why I always say go before you're ready. Thank you so much for being here. I have your emails. I'd love to send an email just with a follow-up hello. And I'm on I connected with some of you on LinkedIn. I'm also going to share, I was going to share this earlier, but I'm going to share a link to my TEDx talk if you haven't found that. So I'd love to stay connected. I'm delighted to be part of the chamber. I look forward to seeing you around and would love to chat at any time. And go forth, use your voice, speak your truth, take the stage. I can't wait to see you out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you.
Vince, do you have anything you'd like to say as we wrap up?
Got on mute. So thank you, Johanna, and thanks to everyone who came today. Very insightful. I certainly look forward to getting the frameworks and trying to decide which one to use. They're all so great. So thanks for these insights, and we appreciate you.